Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to the Sunday evening market update. Thanks for tuning in. And my name is Chloe. For those of you who perhaps don't hear from me very often, I'm a trader based in London, and I will be with you for the next, well, however long it takes to go through some of the interesting things I see in the markets at the moment. So I usually start off with having a look at some commodities that I trade quite regularly, which are gold, silver, and the crude oils. Those are the commodities I trade most frequently. So we'll have a look at some of those. And then we'll move on to some currency pairs and what's going on in the currency markets at the moment. So with gold now, we all know, unfortunately, about the really tragic and horrific events that are going on in the world at the moment. And fundamentally, what that can mean and what that tends to mean for commodities such as gold, because gold is seen as a kind of safe haven currency, if you like. It's somewhere where investors tend to place their money when they're worried about what's going on in the world, when there are events such as wars, terrorism, earthquakes, even global kind of weather type events, anything really major that shocks the market. Investors can tend to get quite jittery, take their money out of perhaps some of their less steady investments and put it instead into gold. So for that reason, we can tend to see a jump in value of gold as more and more people look to buy. That's indeed what has happened in this gap up in the market over here, the weekend that the Hamas attack happened in Israel. And since then, price has just really been steadily rising without looking back an awful lot. There was a little bit of a retracement. Now, fundamentally, that does make a lot of sense. And fundamentally, we can simply say, yep, let's all pile in, buy gold. However, I never ignore technical analysis. So I want to take you all down the month time frame just to show you where I've got some of these levels from, the levels that I feel are most important. I still haven't got the hang of this toolbar that's moved on my screen. Okay, over here. So what we have got is we have got some monthly levels that I have on my chart, which are based on levels from all the way back in 2011, 2012 over here. So we've got what was previously the all-time high in 2011, towards the end of 2011 over here. That was the all-time high for a long, long time, almost 10 years, till 2020. So that, even though it wasn't then a level of resistance as such or support because it hadn't been touched more than once, it still remains an important level because that was the all-time high for such a long time, and therefore it would make sense that many people would look at that level as a place for profit taking perhaps, or short selling or whatever else. So that level, I've got it marked here, it's around 7, not particularly exactly, but there that level is. And if we draw that level all the way forward into the future, we can see that actually even in 10 years later, 2021, that level has acted as resistance. It still has acted as support later on over here. So that's a level that I keep on my charts. I then have this level down here, which is from the triple top that happened after that high was posted in 2011. So from the end of 2011 into 2012, this level over here, which is around 1796 or thereabouts, is another horizontal level of resistance that I have marked in. I have got some lower levels down here. I'm not going to cover those because price is well away from there, but you can kind of see where I'm coming from, taking the major monthly levels from back here, because the area is most relevant to current price action because it's close to where current price actually is. Moving forward from that, go to the weekly time frame and take some more major levels from the weekly time frames. Level here around 1678 as a level of support down here. I have a level of resistance up here around 1832. That is a level of resistance I have marked on. Then I have some more minor levels, which you can see here in the kind of finer thickness of line, which are more based on the daily time frame. And then, of course, we've got the actual all-time high level up here, which is my highest level of resistance. So that's a little bit of background about the levels that I have on my chart, just so that you can see, because for me, horizontal levels are really the first thing that I look at, aside from price action. So I will all analysis with a completely blank chart and look at pure price. Is it going up or is it going down? Is there a trend? From there, the next thing that I look at is my horizontal levels. And that's like my roadmap of where price has been, where price could go, and where price is likely to go next. So the horizontal levels are extremely important for me. So what we can see here is that gold currently is sitting just above the horizontal level I have here at 1973. We can see has been resistance just here, also support just over here. Now, Friday's candle did end fairly bearishly. It's a long-tailed candle up here. It has rejected the highs of where price went on Friday and come back down. However, that doesn't necessarily mean the end of the move to the upside. It could just be a pause, and price could still continue upwards. In terms of horizontal levels, we're between two. So there is still space for price to get a little bit higher and continue upwards. So I'm not taking any strong direction from Friday's candle, even though it is a fairly bearish candle. The important thing for me is to keep an eye on the horizontal levels. Is this horizontal level here, 1973, is it hold? And is price going to manage to stay above there when the markets open later on today? Or is price going to come back down, in which case really this was an extended test of this level, followed by perhaps a deeper pullback in what still could potentially carry on to be an uptrend, but just needs a little bit of breathing space. So as long as price stays above this horizontal level, I will be bullish, and I will be looking for long opportunities this week continuously. If price gets back beneath this level, then I will be looking for a greater pullback on the daily time frame, followed by a sensible area to look for a higher low in order to take another move to the upside potentially. So it's this 1973 level at the moment that is key. That is my fork in the road, if you like, that will tell me whether to continue looking for long opportunities on the intraday timeframes if price stays within this zone. And if that does happen, then this next level around 2000 will be the next logical area of potential resistance, bearing in mind 2000 is a psychological level where there is likely to be some profit taking because it's a big round number. Or if price starts to pull back, then I won't necessarily be trading with that because we still are in an uptrend, but I will wait to see when that pullback ends to see if there is an opportunity to get back into that to the upside. So moving on to silver. Silver often tracks pretty closely with gold. So as gold has gone up in value, so has silver. I would say with silver, because we've reached pretty much reached this previous high area over here. So I'm a little bit more cautious about continuing to trade it upwards. What I see though is I do see an end, certainly an end to the momentum of what was a downtrend. So let me just get my pen. So this was a downtrend on silver over here. Lower high and lower low. Okay, so that was a downtrend. The pullback, the retracement here has pretty much come almost to 100%. It's almost a 100% retracement of that previous downwards move. So that, while it's not a reversal in itself, it could be the beginning of a reversal. It could be the beginnings, for example, of an inverted head and shoulders, left hand shoulder there, head down at the bottom, right hand shoulder there, and then potentially price could continue moving upwards. So what I'm anticipating potentially on silver is perhaps the downside, followed by a higher low forming at some point, followed by a return to the upside, because we haven't yet reached this area here, which is the more major area of resistance that I would be aiming for if I were trading from the bottom of this area all the way to the top. So that's what I see on silver. Right now, we're right in the middle of this area. So the thing that gives me any particular desperate desire to enter a trade right now, I will simply be following along with the trend until I see a reason not to. And when I say with the trend, what I mean is this upwards movement on the daily time frame will look like trend on a lower time frame, higher lows and higher highs. So if I find any opportunities, there's a nice uptrend on the hourly time frame, for example, then I will take those along with the daily directions, i.e. upwards, and until I see a technical reason not to. Moving on then to the crude oils. Now, crude oil, similarly, at times of, especially at times of turmoil in the Middle East, Russia, as we saw with the breakout of the war between Ukraine and Russia. Fairly similar to what we're having happen now. We have seen an increase in the price of the crude oils since that war broke out a couple of weeks ago. So we have now an uptrend, higher low, higher high on crude oil. So I am looking for opportunities here at the moment. And with higher low, higher high, price is still continuing upwards. So in terms of the roadmap, we just have to be a little bit careful. We've really got a major horizontal level in the way on WTI, but on Brent, we do have this level here, which could be a little bit of a barrier. I anticipate perhaps a pullback off here and then maybe another surge. We're still bullish on the crude oils. In terms of indices, I do tend to trade the US indices, especially the US 500 and the NASDAQ, and to a certain extent the Dow Jones as well. So we'll have a look at those just to show you where we're at in terms of my roadmap. So the NASDAQ at the beginning of last week was an uptrend. And let me just get my pen back. So we did have this slightly higher low followed by a higher high. So there is the higher high. There was the uptrend. We had a pullback followed by a bullish candle on the Monday, which indicated the potential for a continuation of that trend. What in fact happened was that bullish candle failed. Another bullish candle in this one here. because that's a long-tailed candle. That's another bullish candle. That one failed. Price came, took out this low, and since then has been going down. So that is definitely the end of the uptrend and the beginning of actually a downtrend, because instead we and if I draw that in, there is the lower high and lower low. Now, the problem with that this week is that here is the bottom of that range. Here's the top of the range. So we've traded from the bottom to the top of the range. We've now moved from the top almost back to the bottom of the range. So there isn't an awful lot of space left to trade without potentially having to break through a level of support. Now, is that level of support going to break? Absolutely, it could. 100% possible. However, in terms of trading, would it be a high probability trade if we were to enter a trade just up here and expect price to go through? No, because that still can act as a level of support. So in terms of my trading short Nasdaq, I will still be looking for short intraday opportunities down to this horizontal level. But really what I'm looking at is on the larger scale, what is going to happen at this horizontal level? Is price going to bounce? If it bounces, there still could be an opportunity for price to break through and continue down. So it doesn't mean it's not going to continue the trend. But is price going to bounce, or is it simply going to break through? And only time will tell that. So I'll continue trading short on the intraday timeframes. But longer term, I really want to wait and see what happens at this level first before I make a decision on that. The US 30, I'm more bearish on the US 30. The price action has been strongly bearish over the last few days. We certainly have lower highs, lower lows. If we look at the week time frame as well, we can see that lower high, lower low pattern. Last week was a very bearish week. There's no reason not to anticipate price continuing down from here, continuing to downtrend. So yes, this previous low will potentially be a little cause for concern, cause for conservative management perhaps, but overall I'm bearish on the US 30. I'm also bearish on the US 500. The next horizontal level for me is really around this level here. So there's still space to trade short on that one as well, especially on an intraday time frame. So bearish on all three of the major US indices at the moment. That brings us on to currencies. So let's have a look at euro dollar. Now euro dollar, it has been in a really, really nice prolonged downtrend for quite some time, several months. Now that downtrend over here looks to be running out of steam. In fact, it looks like it has run out of steam, because what we've got is we've got lower highs, lower lows, and then here we've got a change. We've got a higher high, a higher low, and over here we've also got another higher low followed by another higher high. It's really very rangy price action at the moment between these two levels, very rangy. So there's definitely not an trade uptrend at the moment. But I'm certainly less keen to jump into any short trades, because that certainly does spell the end of the downtrend for me for now. Does that mean price cannot or is not going to go short ever again? Well, no, of course not. And if we look over here, You know, if we only look at the most recent price action, we can look at the price action here and think, oh wow, this is really low. Price must have to move up from here. Whereas actually, if we just get a little bit more information on the screen, what we can see is we're actually at quite a pivotal moment here. And there's absolutely space for price to move lower. Price has been lower than this. There's absolutely space for price to move lower. So this could be just a breather before price breaks down through this horizontal level here. In fact, if we put things onto the weekly time frame, we can see it is a major horizontal level, but price can get lower than this. Or it could be that price has hit this major horizontal level of support, is taking a breather before returning to some kind of an uptrend. So at the moment, can't tell you which is happen because it's actually told me yet. What I will say is, if this level here is broken up here, then I definitely will be very bullish from then on. If these lows are broken down here, and especially if that bottom is taken out, then I will be very bearish, very, very bearish, because as we see here, there's a long drop then to the next level of support if price gets through this major support over here. So again, at the moment, I'm not actually heavily trading on euro dollar because it's just in a range for me, and I'm waiting for the key areas, either this previous high over here to break to the upside, or this horizontal level coupled with this low to break to the downside. So though that's a roadmap of, if it gets higher, I'm all into the upside. If it gets lower, I'm all into the downside. Until then, there might be some intraday trading. And at the moment, my intraday trading on euro dollar will only be to the upside because the daily price action is currently showing higher lows and higher highs, but very, very tentatively. Cable, fairly similar. And again, if we just look at this picture here, it might look like, wow, it's been going down for ages. Surely it's got to go up now. Whereas if we look at the bigger picture, there's plenty of space for price to go down further. And in fact, on cable, there's plenty of space even between where price is now and the next horizontal level down here. We're not even pushing towards realms that we haven't seen recently. You know, price has been below here back at the beginning of 2023, at the end of 2022, mid 2022 below there. Basically most of 22, in fact, it was below there. So we definitely have precedent for price to continue downwards on the pound. The moment have a stop, a pause in, and does that mean it's definitely going to go down further? No. It definitely could turn around, put in a higher low at this point, and start an uptrend. All we can do is be aware of our horizontal levels, be aware of the price action on the higher time frames, and continue trading in those directions. So again, at the moment on pound, I'm slightly more bullish based on the last few candles price action. Friday's was bullish, Thursday's was indecisive, but it's definitely not pushing down to the same extent as it was over here. There's definitely a pause in price action. At the moment, this is simply consolidation. There's a lower high, but we've got overall a higher low over here. So at the moment, I won't really be making any decisions on direction on pound until the chart tells me otherwise. Dollar Swiss, I'm bearish on. I do have a lower high and a lower low now on dollar Swiss, so I'm bearish on that. I don't have a huge amount to say on that apart from what I've just said. We're just reaching down to an area that could show some support. There's been resistance over here, support, a little bit of support over here. So that could be an indication that perhaps price could be ready to maybe pull back a little bit before heading further to the downside. But overall, I'm still bearish on dollar Swiss. Dollar yen now. Dollar yen is an interesting one because overall I am still bullish on dollar yen. There is still an uptrend in place. If we look at what's happening here, higher lows and higher highs consistently all the way. Oops. So the pattern of higher lows and higher highs has not been broken. We still see higher lows and higher highs here. So I am still bullish on dollar yen. However, we can't deny that it looks very sluggish in this area. And in fact, it looks a little bit like an ascending triangle type consolidation pattern. Sorry, I draw that very carefully. It certainly looks like slowed down significantly and is waiting for something to happen. Now, could price go higher than this? Absolutely, it could. We've seen price slightly higher than this in the past. It has broken to higher levels. So it's not like we're in uncharted waters. We still have, every time the sellers try to come in here, we still have the buyers overall remaining in charge of this. So I am still looking out for potential long opportunities, and especially I'll be looking at this area here as resistance, and I'll be looking for that to break. Similarly, I will be looking fairly closely at this. So there's the ascending triangle. If price breaks to the downside here, then I will change my tune and I'll be looking for short. But at the moment, price is just consolidating. I'd like it to break out to the upside. If it breaks out to the upside, I will be looking for probably a retest of that level, followed by a further move up. If it breaks out to the downside, then it could continue ranging. That is an option because there's also another level there. Or if it puts in a lower high there, then it could then move to the downside. So dollar yen overall, I'm still bullish because there is still an uptrend in place, but it's got to the point where there is a consolidation, and I need to wait for that consolidation to break really before seeing any major opportunities arise. The other yen crosses, so Aussie yen was high up on my watch list for a while because there was a consolidation pattern over here. It's now consolidating again because we do have these lower highs, and again, this is just very roughly drawn. Lower highs and higher lows. So again, I'm really waiting for a breakout of that consolidation before I decide properly on a direction, because at the moment there is no direction on Aussie yen. Pound yen, I'm starting to become a little bit more bullish on pound yen, just because of the most recent price action here. But really it is and has been for a long time just in a range. So those are the highs there. Got this level of resistance, support, resistance. So in the short term, I would say this week I'm looking to see where the price can head from where it is now back up to these highs up here, and perhaps on an intraday time frame that might yield some opportunities. But further than that, it's really just a sideways market there. Swiss yen, definitely bullish on Swiss yen, so I'll be looking for any long opportunities there. Euro yen, I'm starting to become more bullish because it's starting to look like it's breaking out. It's broken out from this horizontal level here. And this is quite an important distinction for me. Let me see if I can try and explain. So here's my horizontal level that I'm talking about. Resistance, support, And then over here, we just have price meandering in and out of that horizontal level. So it's broken, then it's broken back down, broken up, broken down, broken up, broken down, broken up, broken down, broken up, broken down. Doesn't really give us anything that we can trade with. However, most recently, it's actually broken up. It's retested the level fairly closely over here. And now it could potentially be heading up. So it's different from breaking up, breaking down, breaking up, breaking down, because what happened is actually it's broken up, retested, and stayed above. So that is what makes me bullish now in Euro yen, and I'll be open to looking out for long opportunities on Euro yen from here on in. Kiwi bearish. So Kiwi dollar has broken down through this level of support. It's not a trend as such at the moment on the daily frame. I am looking for a pullback to give me a proper lower high, but I'm certainly bearish on Kiwi dollar. So that's one for my short watch list this week. Euro Aussie, I'm bullish. So we've got quite a clean up trend here, higher lows, higher highs on Euro Aussie. The only thing I would say is we've reached this previous high level here, which is actually level of resistance. If we look, resistance from 2020, resistance from 2019, resistance from 2018. So that's a key level for me. I'm looking to see whether that can break or if price is going to bounce. But I am bullish on Euro Aussie at the moment. Euro Kiwi also has a nice long run to the upside. No reason at the moment to anticipate this ending, this run to the upside. There isn't really much of a horizontal level in the way of price getting higher. So I'm okay to continue looking for long opportunities on Euro Kiwi until the technicals say otherwise. Dollar CAD. Dollar CAD is something I actually rarely trade dollar CAD because it can tend to be very, very choppy. But when it does trend, it can trend really nicely. So it's worth keeping an eye on. I've got these two levels here as a bottom and a top to the major sideways range on dollar CAD. And right now, I have above the top, we've got a high low and a higher high. Price has retested that level of days running and stayed above there. So if it continues to stay above that level, then I continue to be bullish on dollar CAD. I'd be pretty conservative in my trading there because these highs over here are not that far away. But I'm bullish at the moment on dollar CAD. Aussie dollar, I'm not as bearish on Aussie dollar as I was Kiwi dollar, simply because this most recent price action here has formed a bottom down here. So I would need to see that broken to give me a strong move to the downside. I am bearish, but unless it's a very short and a very clear trade on an intraday time frame, I would actually prefer to see what happens at this horizontal level if price tests it and breaks through, or if it tests it and then turns around and perhaps continues this rangy price action here. Pound Swiss was a gift last week, really, because this is a horizontal level here that I've had on my charts for a very long time. Pound Swiss has really been ranging for the best part of a year and a half, or just under a year and a half, between these highs here and these lows down here. So it's this low level that it was keeping a strong eye on down here. and looking for whether price was going to give a proper bounce and a proper move to the upside, but it seemed like the momentum just wasn't there. You know, if I'm looking for a bounce at a lower limit to a range, then I'm looking for a move to actually happen. Much like we see over here, price has got to the bottom of that range and then it's moved up. Over here, it didn't quite make it. Over here, it didn't quite make it. Over here, it's got to the bottom of that range and then moved up. Over here, it's got to the bottom of that range and then moved up. It's a bit more kind of meandering, but it's moved back up to the top. Over here, it's got to the bottom of the range, not really done much. Got to the bottom again, really much. Next time it got to the bottom, not really done much. So the buyers just aren't in there anymore. And so I've been waiting for price to break through, and that's what happened. And this is why it's very important in my eyes, not only to keep an eye on what's trending, but to keep an eye on what's not trending and see if you can spot any anything that's interesting that you think, oh, if this happens, then this could lead to a big move. So being prepared for something like that is where you get the golden nuggets of moves. Now that that's happened, where does that leave us? Well, there is a downtrend here, lower highs, lower lows. So I am actually still bearish, but it looks like we're perhaps due another retrace. Plus, I have to say that this move is potentially could be done. It's broken, it's given us a strong move down, little pullback, strong down. Is it going to give us another strong move down? Who knows? Because it can't go on forever. This is something where price really has only really been below here. Bearing in mind this is a pound cross, so we've got some political stuff going on here with that horrendous budget that we had in the UK. The government was having crazy thoughts, and that's why price went this low previously. So unless something horrendous happens in the UK, I wouldn't suggest that we're aiming all the way back down towards these lows here, in which case there's not a huge amount further for it to go. So I'm still bearish because the trend is still down, but I'm not expecting that trend to go on forever. CAD, I'm bullish. That could be a nice further move up for this week, looking out for potential intraday trades to the upside. And I think that is pretty much all I have to cover for today. So hopefully you found that useful as a little bit of an overview of not only what I'm looking at for this week, but also how I do my analysis and how I kind of hang around waiting for trade rather than down. And I will speak to you in the not too distant future. Cheers, everyone. Have a fantastic evening. Enjoy your week of trading ahead.